Good evening, Super League managers and fans across the globe. It's Sunday night. We're back to our usual slot after a couple of sort of odd nights. I think we had a Monday show and a Friday show, but yeah, it's Sunday and we're back for some Super League action. Dragons at the top of the table. Who would have thought it? Um, with me tonight, Scott, Bostock manager. Good evening, Scott.
Evening, Martin, and evening, everybody. How you doing?
I think we've got Potato Mourinho, we've got Dan Megahorse, Fifey, Duggan, Dimble, Ian Campbell, Mr. Edwards, Wooder, Jens is here as well. I will fall asleep with a stunning hangover. Yeah, it was the famous what do they call them? Lumberjacks or something like that that he had there banging away in his head earlier on. Greaves is here as well. My voice is already dying, so I'll be sipping plenty during the evening. Let's start off the evening by having a quick look at the results from Friday night. I don't think anyone has forgotten. Should be fresh in everyone's memory what happened. Um, Dudley Hill picked up a valuable point away from home. Did you see anything turning point wise? I mean, Nick Barmby aside, did you see anything from Stee and from Dudley that would indicate that they might sort of be starting to find their way, or is it still a bit of a struggle?
Uh, no, to be honest, I think it's still going to be a bit of a struggle for them. I think there was questions asked about both lineups on Friday, players in oppositions, and maybe certain players' selections being questioned from the guys on comms and even some of them in the chat. So I know I think for Steve, he's still searching. He's still searching for a formula. I think in his mind he knows what he wants to do, but then his players are not delivering. So he still has that urge from time to time to try and tweak it and mix it up. Hence, players like Nicky Barmby and Freddie Youngberg at wing back and Nicolaitis and that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, it's it's obviously you got to give things a go when you're down at the bottom of the table. SSS still searching Steve, says Fifey. Yeah, well, if anyone knows what it's like, a decent result for or decent display from Astra. I mean, they would have probably been hoping for all 3 points there, but at least it can take some comfort from the actual performances of the players. A little bit unfortunate not to get more goals, maybe, but um, I mean, he had Fowler got a goal and seven and eights. It didn't sort of humiliate themselves or do themselves any kind of disservice in terms of the performance Asta. So I guess Tato knows what he's doing, and it'll just be a case of getting that first win under his belt.
Yeah, for sure. I think obviously he's been involved with Ian a little bit, and obviously in terms of the community, he's done all sorts of stuff, streaming and races and all that kind of different stuff. So Tato definitely knows what he's doing. In terms of Asta, obviously very different ideas to Alf and what Alf's done before. I think he's still searching for what he thinks is his best 11 in the best formation. Um, we've seen players swapped with the reserves and players who've not had a chance. Vivian Foe come back in from the reserves and got a man of match with a really good display. We're seeing Adolfo come in and get an assist for the winner. So yeah, Tato's trying some different things, and hopefully he'll settle on something soon. And I think once he gets that first win, firstly he'll feel much more confident, but then I think you'll probably see a little bit more consistency in terms of lineup and
Yeah.
tactics.
Yeah, not easy to make your debut in the Super League. We had yourself a bit of a rough night with Ego Tudor being sent off there just on halftime. Obviously, solid display from the Dragons. Fairly even game. Perhaps a little bit unlucky to lose by two, but with the Tudor sending off and with Collins getting injured, that's been working. It's not really been working for you, I guess, in the way that you'd hope with David Collins. Were you considering that before you did the swap that he was potentially injury prone because he seems to have been doing very very well when he has been fully fit and playing.
Um, to be honest, no, it's not something that sprung to mind. It was purely the fact that I thought the area wasn't doing for me what he was doing for Rob, and I thought that I could get Collins to score more goals than the area. It was pretty much that simple.
Hmm
Over
hmm
the course of a season, I think I could get Collins to score more goals at the time. Now, look, you know, it's been talked about a lot over the last few weeks, and it looks like the deal's worked out quite well for both teams. I think both strikers, both players have got a goal a game at the new club. Vieri's played a few more games because obviously Collins had a few missing, but ultimately it is a deal that's worked well for both teams.
Yeah, and hopefully he'll come back for you before the before too long and start scoring again. Dragons we'll speak a little bit more about later on before the game of the evening with them and Sloths obviously. But Constantino continues to score much to my disappointment. Even Josh who's joined in the chat as well. Fulchester Casellas 1-1. Nicky Bott putting in a man of the match performance for Fulchester. Not really particularly. I mean, good game. Is that is that harsh? It wasn't super
No,
exciting, was it?
no, it wasn't a great game. There wasn't a massive amount of chances created. Two good sides, two experienced managers, not a great deal created, and probably a fair result. And there's not really a great deal else to say on it, I don't think.
Yeah, I think they'd probably take it a share of the points there. Jens is starting to worry, and I guess if you lose 2-1 to Churchtown, who are a decent away side to be fair, but they haven't picked up a bunch of points recently. NDI clearly his best or his only good player in this particular scenario. I think he's mixing things up a little bit again. Um, we've got the Anelka obviously scoring, and yeah, a bit of a bit of a mixed bag. I think Van Nistelrooy was out injured, but NDI a man of the match performance, but just not. It's not really good enough, is it? What Hools are putting out at the moment.
No, and I think Jens will be the first to admit that he's not been good enough. I think he will be happy with the squad of players that he's got. Um, he he was set on a formation that he wanted to use from the start of the season. He's had to venture away from that a couple of times because of injuries or lack of form. But Jens will be mightily pissed off actually that he's got such a strong squad. And that other than in Dye, the players are not turning up. I think he's been quite vocal in recent weeks about talking about freshening the squad up and making some big changes come sort of towards the end of the season, purely because he's becoming frustrated with, let's be honest, a team full of big names that are just not collectively delivering.
Yeah, and I mean he's definitely in a position to negotiate. Some of these players that he could potentially let go would be quite attractive for some other managers, and there is obviously quite a few managers who are sort of making it a bit of their thing to get the most out of players who have kind of failed to perform at certain clubs. So we'll see if they do any swabs. Last minute sort of winner for Andres Oliveira there for Churchtown, and I mean I don't know if they'll be confident going into today's match, but that's a big plus for Churchtown, isn't it, to get that away win? They'd been doing okay and then had a bit of a slump again, and now with this away win, that's got to be at least a bit of a confidence boost for them, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I don't know whether the guys in the chat have seen some of the stats that our Statman has put out, but Churchtown have won 5 games away from home, so they may well have gone into that game confident, thinking we're actually a better side away from home. Bulls are not playing well; they're not consistent, so they
Hmm.
might have fancied it. It was a relatively strong lineup actually that Churchtown put out. I think questions
I
have
was
been
gonna
asked
say that.
throughout the season. I mean, yeah, and they've got some big players, and I think they could have, in fact, should have, and would have expected a lot more from a lot of their players throughout the season. To be
Hmm.
completely honest, the likes of Elber, Santa Cruz, Totti, Kaladze, Terry Cole. It is a strong team by far, nowhere near the weakest side in the division. So the guys will be striving for some consistency and a home win for sure.
Yeah, well, they'll be open for that. Zanetti has obviously done well, but there's just been a bit of a problem for them in some areas. Lettersford Northern Burn. It was actually quite an entertaining game, but they're just completely incapable of hitting the target and just running each other offside for pretty much all alternative. Much like the Fulchester Gazelles game. Maybe not that much to write home about. You could say that Walter Samuel Cannavaro incredibly solid, same as Uwe Hiok on the Lettersford side. Anything else that you noticed in terms of this game apart from the awful finishing?
No, I actually did notice last week watching it live that all four centre backs were exceptionally strong.
Mm,
Um, I'll be honest, I expected goals. Hodges found a little bit of form of late. He's got a little bit more attacking, some quality attacking players in his front four. Byrne have been strong most of the season. Del Piero and Henri and Cizalco in that sort of front three that they've been playing has been working. So I
hmm.
expected goals. I think everybody watching expected goals, and actually that's usually what happens when you build it up to be a barnstormer.
Yeah, well, 0-0 it was. Something that was a bit of a barnstormer, I guess. The Sloths game was pretty good against the Haggis Hunters. Obviously, a bit of beef between the managers there, and an exciting finish with Vieri getting the winner there. 9 goals in nine for the Sloths. Look at his stats. He is ridiculous. Um, it was a good game, entertaining, perhaps a little bit undeserved that Sloths took the win here.
Yeah, Ian will definitely feel a little bit aggrieved that you look at the stats and you think that I don't think it's a champion. Sloths have been clinical all season. They've scored a lot of goals all season. Ian will probably be frustrated um, that he's not converted more out of the chances that he's created. But every time Sloths play, you expect him to score goals. Every time Sloths play, you expect it to be a good game. I love watching. I love watching Sloths.
Yeah, it was definitely an entertaining game. Disappointing for the Haggis Hunters that again Shevchenko didn't score. They've had a few problems with him obviously throughout the season. Bisari letting them down a little bit there. But it was a good game, very very entertaining. And I can see Josh is putting a question there. What does the Australian national team look like? It's okay. We can have a look at it after the last game of the evening, a quick one for sure. Before we run through this, but I've got to give a quick shout out to Sir Roberto. I mean, I know in home save sometimes you have players with like ridiculous average ratings. 853 with 10 assists and 5 goals in 17 games. I mean, as he's steamrolling his way towards team of the sort of player of the season, isn't he? That's going to be hard for anyone to catch that.
Yeah, I think pencil him in already. To be honest, he was good last season. I think Rob will have been hopeful that he could reproduce, and he's got better. Um, he's got better. He's contributing with goals, and actually, what have we got? Another 8 games left. You won't be surprised if he got another 7 assists and equaled what he got last season.
Yeah, yeah.
So for me, pencil him in for player of the season.
Very, very good performance from him. And last but not least, uh, yeah, Emilian Pence had a quiet couple of weeks. He came back firing on literally all cylinders, and Lokomotiv Boston just had a bit of a mare, didn't they? I mean, Bartes getting sent off, but that was only the last goal of the game. It was kind of it was a struggle before that for them as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Devils are capable of that. If Devils click, um, then they're capable of putting five past anybody, especially if Penza's, been sniffing cocaine or whatever before kickoff. He's almost unstoppable. I think there was a bit of talk between the guys in the chat about potentially subbing him at half time. And Fifey might have been considering it. Montella's very, very good at Super League level as well.
Hmm.
But absolutely the right decision to leave him on and really put Locomotive Boston to the sword second half.
Yeah, definitely did, and showed that they can actually concede a few goals. I think it was the second sort of like poor performance of the season, if I'm not mistaken. Let me have a quick look. I think they had, yeah, there was that one, the Northern Burn game where they conceded four as well. I knew there was another one, and the Sloss game, obviously, but Sloss being Sloss. But they had another game that didn't go too well before. Interesting results, and interesting how it affected the top of the table. Obviously, we'll have a quick look at the Australia squad. That's that's what it looks like. They have been doing relatively well, although I'm not entirely sure what happened there. 3-0 defeat. It's not that easy for for Australia, and they did lose these games as well. So yeah. Um, Either way, back to the table. Result and performance meant so much at 5E. Yeah, well, for sure it did, and I mean it keeps you in the running. Good for the goal difference as well. Look at Sloss with 47 goals, conceded 33. A little bit like Devils last season, isn't it? With all those goals, both at both ends.
Yeah, and actually done a little bit of research in the 5 minutes before leading up to the show, and the leading scorers at this stage last season were Devils with 42.
Oof. So actually outscoring Devils of last season, because I think they kind of scored a little bit less towards the end. But yeah, I remember
And
Churchtown at some point as well. We were talking about whether Churchtown could go three. Was that the same, or was that the season before where there was talk about whether Churchtown could score 3 goals per game on average or something like that?
yeah, it was the season, the season five, six, maybe
Mm,
five.
mm,
Yeah, they were very, very good.
yeah. Oh well, we'll see
And
who's going to be. Hmm?
just one more thing on the table in comparison to this stage last season, Hodgie and Leddersford were only on 25 points after 18 games last season, and they won the league.
Yeah, well, things can change. I mean, I did have a quick look at the sequences here that we've got, and obviously most games won in a row. It's actually you this season with 5, and it was Churchtown with 6. Most games lost in a row. Dragons last time round. Dragons who are now top of the table, and and Dudley who are not. Most games without losing. Devils have gone 8 without losing this season. Leddersford did that famous run of 11 last, which is the one that took them from the 25 to the top of the table. And most games without winning are Churchtown
Oh,
at this.
Jesus Christ!
16. I mean, you know it carries over, yeah. So it's not 16 this season. It was a 12 from last
Yeah,
season, and then the
yeah,
first
yeah.
4 of this one to take it up to the 16. But still, 16 games without a win. That's rough. That's rough. Um, anyway, fixtures this evening. We've got yourselves up against Fulchester. Obviously, the Fulchester manager is hibernating in Cornwall somewhere. So we'll see what happens if he'll be on later. If not, then you have that advantage anyway. Churchtown against Astor, we've got coming up as well. Dudley against Leddersford, Haggis against the Devils, that's a big one. Locomotive Boston looking to get back to winning ways. We've got Northern Burn against the Gazelles, and the tasty one, the Sloths against the Dragons. We'll save that for a little bit. I haven't seen if Mr. Potato Mourinho is here, so we can kick off with Churchtown against Astor because Dimple is here as well. So I think we're going to go with that, and then we're going to save obviously Bostock until the end, and then for the second to last, we'll just follow the script for the rest of them. So if we start with having a look at Churchtown, um, and yeah, as you can see, there are 3 injuries. Luke Chadwick, okay, fair enough. So he probably wasn't going to be playing anyway, but they are missing a couple, Patrick Poway and Ashley Cole. Kalatz goes to the left hand side. I think that happened in the game as well. He put on Mendes da Silva in the middle there. Not that many changes. I think Cambiaso comes in
Donny, maybe.
for Donny, yeah, who I think got a 6 in that one. Any surprises for you there? Or Fifey's delighted already. He's seen Cambiaso's playing. Any
Yeah,
surprises, or
Fazzy.
are you confident with that Kalatsa move to the wing back? I don't know if he's got that many options, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I didn't expect much in terms of changing it up from Churchtown. Um, Cambiasso and Mendes de Silva coming in, both very, very promising players who, as the saving the seasons go on, will develop nicely, but obviously a little bit more inexperience from the guys that have gone out. I'm not sure how much that will play a part. Kaladi going to left wing back's not a problem at all. Very solid, whether he's playing essentially or wide. Um, for me personally, I would want to see Totti a little bit further forward in that AMC role and contributing. I think he did a relatively good job back in the Fallon days in that role. But
Hmm.
yeah, I don't think you get a massive contribution from him in centre midfield.
Yeah, difficult guy to get a proper return from, to be honest. I mean, 3 goals and an assist in 17 games. It's not great for someone with stats like that, but we'll see if he can do it for them tonight. They're up against an Asta side. They don't have any injuries, anything like that to worry about. Change things up a little bit. It's quite an attacking formation, reminiscent of something that the Sloths were playing at some point anyway. Um, And yeah, Nedved is out on the left-hand side. Simon Davies is on the right. We've got Emre, we've got Danielson, Rui Costa in that AMC role. This Adolfo is in there. I think he likes Adolfo, so he's given a chance here. I couldn't see if there was a captain set, so it's set into Rui Costa. But Tato, if you're here, you can change your caption if you like. Strong enough to get the result. I mean,
I think Tato's been very outspoken about wanting to be attacking, about wanting to create a lot of chances. Hence the lineup, hence the players in the attacking third, and the playing with wingers instead of wing backs, which feels a little bit better than it did last week. Nedved and Davies pushing on. Not too sure how much Emre is going to contribute in that central midfield or by himself. Kaluzny has been good all season, probably Asta's best player, alongside Rui Costa. So yeah, it'll be really interesting away from home with 7 players sort of in the attacking half, whether they can keep Churchtown quiet and put them under pressure.
well, they're definitely set up to pile people forward when they do have the ball. So we'll see if it works out for them or if they leave themselves a little bit exposed at the back. Can see some of the predictions coming in already. Fifey goes for 3-2 home win. Greavesy 4-0 home win. Duggan 1-1 draw. Josh says a 2-2 draw, and Tato himself is betting on himself to lose. 0 points at home for Churchtown. 29 goals against. Is Dimple's comment to this one? Yeah, but you're coming off a win, so so it might have a positive effect on the outcome. What do you think, Scott? Dan Megahorse says a 3-2 away win, home draw or away for you?
I think this is going to be entertaining, high scoring. I think it's going to be 3-2 either way. I'm going to edge my bets with a 3-2 Asta based on Churchtown's home form.
Well, if they keep up the conceding of 29 goals, then it could definitely go that way. But let's kick it off and let's see. Ian Edwards says 1-1. Dan Megahorse says 3-2 away win. Let's have a look and see who is right. Oh, that's a quick injury. Dimple, you are. What do you fancy? Let's hear it. Could put Totti up there. You were asking for that. Maybe put Robert Pires on in that role. What do you think, Scott? What would you go for here?
Yeah, I think I would definitely move Totti forward, and I would probably go with Davis in centre midfield over Pires.
He's gone with Pires. So do you want to swap them or do you want to leave Pires there, Dimble? He says if Lehman gets a 6, we win. Well, maybe. Didn't want to play him anyway. Oh yeah,
Pires,
that's
where
fair
he is.
enough. All right, we'll leave him here for now. Pires AMC, yeah, we'll go with that. Okay, well, I mean, match winner from last time out, Oliveira picks up an early injury. Let's see how that impacts the rest of the game. It's Asta creating here in those 10 minutes. Coming up to halftime now, and it's Robbie Fowler who obviously got the goal for them last time out, who scored for them tonight as well. Elba with the equaliser for Churchtown, and it's Asta's turn to pick up an injury here.
Oh, that's a
Kevin
big injury.
Hoffland, that's a straight swap for Huppier, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
He's either footed as well, so he probably stays on the left.
Yeah, I would suggest so.
I'll give Tato a second. Yeah, Huppier straight swap, that's fine. 8 minutes till half time, 3 minutes till half time. See if anyone can get a quick goal here before we go in for the Oranges. Nope. 1-1 at half time. That's I mean, not the best first half, but probably not the worst either. Seems to be loads more injuries over the last 2 or 3 game rounds that time of the season. Is well pointed out, Duggan, actually. And I think if we look at it, there has been quite a lot of Wednesday, Sunday games in the game as well. So that could be part of it. And the fact that everyone plays short, hard passing or whatever it is, then that's it's probably not a little bit tricky as well. What do you make of that first half? Bit quiet, Scott, wasn't it?
Yeah, it felt relatively even. Asta started well. I actually thought there was going to be more chances created than that. So I think there'll be more goals in the second half. I think, like I said, yeah, relatively even. An injury for both sides as well. Hoffland hopefully is not going to be too bad. He's 46, but was playing well. And Southgate not so much. So maybe that's an opportunity for Churchtown.
Yeah, and as you mentioned there, Emre, probably you weren't expecting much from him, and he's not let you down. Not a huge amount of contribution from him here.
No,
With yeah, not really anything.
I just don't think he's strong enough in that central midfield role to control games or whatever. So
Yeah, very keen on running offside as well. The AMCs with the arrows there, or sorry, even without the arrows Costa there. I don't know if Tato wants to make any changes. Here's the squad anyway, if you want to do that, and we'll have a quick look at the at Churchtown in the meantime. Much stronger first half performance from Churchtown. Emre off for Foe and swap with Kalusny. All right, I'll just do that before I forget. Emre off for Foe and swap with Kalusny. Okie dokes. Um, let's have a look at Churchtown. A very good first half performance from Evening Mr. Swan. Thanks for the stats, as always. Very good performance from John Terry in the first half. He's on a 9. Plenty of tackles and headers in there. Who got the assist? Totti got the assist again, even though he's only on a 6. So he can't have done that many other things right. CC for Rocket Santa Cruz says, Dimbo, you surprised at that? Or
I mean, Cisse's not done a great deal. I think he's maybe scored one in a few sub appearances.
Rocket Santa Cruz not scored in 8?
I think they're both of a similar ilk where they need to play, they need to get game time, they need to develop, and in a few seasons' time they'll be good players.
Yeah, Caesar looks as if he's potentially very, very good, but they haven't been getting much out of him so far. We'll see in the second half if things pick up in terms of number of chances, because it's been a bit quiet so far. Robert Pires, we'll see what he can do. We're already on 70 minutes, so it doesn't look as if we're going to get that many more chances, but 14 minutes, and it's Robbie Fowler again, his 5th goal of the season. We'll put it down to fast here and see if Churchtown can come up with an equaliser again as he did in the first half. Totti trying to get the ball into the box and create something there. Just a couple of minutes left. It's Elba coming forward. There's Campiasso. There's Cesar breaking the offside trap with a fierce shot, and Shea Given puts the ball out for a corner, which Totti takes another one. Given with another great save, keeping Astor in it. Right, very interesting finish there. I mean, Churchtown did try, but Shea Given definitely kept Astor in it, and a very important away win for Astor there for Tato to get his team off to a decent start. A shit ton of offsides. Pretty much all the free kicks are relating to offsides. Yeah, that's just how it goes. Even split. Let's see how the goal came about. It was Danielson with a low cross into the box to Robbie Fowler. Um, not a vintage performance from several of the players, but just about good enough. And Robbie Fowler on the spot. Couple of goals there.
Yeah, a couple of things to note. I think, firstly, it's good to see Fowler in the goals. I think Shearer's been was the main man for Alf. Fowler came off the bench and changed the game last week, and he's been rewarded with a start today and has repaid Tato's faith in him with a couple of goals. And also Shea Given, I'm sure he's averaging above 8 this season, but for some reason Alf wanted to keep switching his goalkeepers up, and every time he brought someone else in, they got a 5 or a 6. And actually, Astor could be probably quite a few more points further on had Given played a little bit more this season.
9-8, 9-9, 7-7, and now he's getting an 8 in this
Yeah,
one. Yeah, I mean, and he did a good job for. I mean, not in this iteration, but he did a half decent job in other clubs that he's played in before in the Super League. I don't think he's ever been someone that you would say terrible or anything like that. In terms of the assist, Adolfo got one, Danielson got one. So yeah, a good performance for Tato and the boys there. Well done for the guys that came on. Huppie as well on a 9. That's good for him if Hoffland's going to be out for a while, for a couple of games. Mark Vivian Foe, another good performance despite being dead, which is brilliant. So
yeah. And another thing on just one more thing on Astor,
mhm.
that Tato's brought up Adolfo, who a few guys over the last few months really have been urging Alf to give a chance. Tato's done that, and obviously he's one of these players alongside your João Pedro and your David Collins and all these guys who on a home save are fantastic. And actually, I don't think I've ever seen Adolfo's attributes look so good. So the fact that he's come in, played 2 games, 2 assists, Just shows that potentially it could be a real asset at this level.
Yeah, I mean, if you get him in, if it's again, it's using the players to the best of their ability. I mean, if you've got a guy with 20 creativity, 20 off the ball, and 20 passing, and some good technique and teamwork, get him to get those balls into the strikers. I mean, I'm sure he can do a job. I always look at if they do like 750 or something like that in the reserves and actually score goals in the reserves, then usually that's my indication that they could probably do a job in in the seniors as well. Of course, there are many other players that have better stats than him, but he does have some 20s in the right places. Let's have a look and see what how Churchtown did. Kalata got a 9, John Terry got a 9. They didn't actually play badly. I mean, Robert Pires didn't play well, but I don't think anyone expected that. Um, I suppose they just got a soldier on, haven't they? Just get see if they can get to somewhere in terms of results and getting some home games won at some point.
Yeah, I was just going to say they might be asking the league if they can reverse all the fixtures and play away every week.
Yeah,
But
it's not
yeah, I
the
mean, look, on paper they've not played too badly, but they've not created a great deal. John Terry's had a really good game, as you alluded to, and Kaladze out moving out wide obviously wasn't an issue. Pires, I don't think anybody expected him to do anything when he came on, whether it had been central midfield or AMC. And Cisse and Santa Cruz is a bit meh, like for like, and neither have contributed a great deal.
yeah. So a bit of a shame for Georgetown not picking up anything else there. But Astor off to a winning way. Someone's got to pick up points, obviously. Lord Eco can. Hello, a new viewer as well. Welcome to the Super League. We are moving on with the with the next game of the evening, which will be Dudley Hill against Laddersford. So time for Steed to see if he can get the 3 points on the board. Been a bit of a been a while since Dudley last picked up 3 points. I think on Swans that was at round game 6. I think was that the last. Yeah, I think that there we go against Hools. Yeah, I think that was the last win. So we'll see if he can turn things around to tonight. Obviously, Steve and the guys. Um, I mean, at least there's no Nick Barmby. That's always something, I guess.
Yeah, Van der Vaart's come in. To get Van der Vaart involved so that he can develop. Carlos back in, I think, is a good move. I like Rustico. I'm not a massive fan of Ayala personally, but Ljungberg right wing back, I'm not having that load of shit. Tony's been good when he's come in, but I think if you're going to get the best out of Hernan Crespo, which you would think if you've got that tool in your armory, you would be trying to build a team around him. He's going to have to play on his own. Maybe he might go out and prove me wrong, and they might hit it off together. But 5 in 13, you want more than that from Crespo, don't you?
Yeah, ideally you would definitely want a little bit more from from him. Freddie L out on the out on the right wing back. He's not got the best crossing. He has got good stamina and acceleration and half decent dribbling though. So and he is either footed. So technically he might do a job out there. We'll see. I mean Gallardo could potentially play out there as well. I don't know if that'll make any difference at all, but neither of them have been overly impressive. Kyoto's in goal. I mean, at least that's I won't say it's maybe fixed any problems, but at least he's put in a half decent shift in the games that he has been in goal for. Um, I don't know
Yeah, he's
how
doing
do you see
okay.
his.
I know Steve was a fan of Mazzantini, and he kept talking about how good he was performing, and then I think he had 2 or 3 stinkers, and Steve sort of felt obliged to drop him. Um, Kiotis is one of them that can have a run of 8s and 9s, but then there's always going to be that one time when he does throw in a 5, like a lot of goalkeepers, most in fact. You talk about sort of, I think, over the last probably season and a half, Handjog Butt's probably been the most consistent, along with Bartes. Andre's done well, but again, still from time to time, they'll have a 5 and cost you a game.
Yeah. I mean, we saw that with Bartes last week. I mean, I'm not sure that Bartes cost them the game, but he did have a pretty poor one and got sent off. So um, that's more age with Matt Santini. Well, he is 34 and his stats are like pretty not as great as some of them. So yeah, it's a fair point, Steve. Um, Lettersford, on the other hand, I mean, you mentioned they're one of the most stable goalkeepers in the league. He had a couple of not brilliant performances, but overall not conceded that many goals. A bit of a change up for Hodgie in this particular formation. I think that's the right one. What was the last one? Yeah, it was. Yeah, so one striker and then just Ronaldinho and Hersey behind Morientes, Patsasoglu, who's been doing pretty well in that MC role. Gardner's still out on that wing back. Evan Nilsson, Sorocinski. Um, I mean, I guess they can go on a run. I mean, they have a bit further to go this time than last, and if they want to be finished top with you said they won 25 this time last season.
Yeah, they got 22 points in their last 8 games, so
Well,
7 wins and a draw.
do you see that happening this time round?
I
Ronaldinho's
think
got to
there's
start.
potential. There's potential for all the teams sort of from first to 10th to produce that sort of form. I don't think anybody will, purely because of how tight it is, how
Mm,
inconsistent the teams have been. We're going to need something similar to that ourselves if we're going to make the top six. And we went, I think, aside from Hodgie, the last 8 games last season, we were probably the form team
hmm
alongside Hodgie. In terms of the lineup, it's a formation that's becoming extremely familiar in the Super League. It sort of works. It's tried and tested. The players, that back three of Maldini, Georg and Butt have been fantastic. Sorocinski and Ambrosini are really strong. The wing backs are probably Hodgie's weakest area. Soglu's done really well in central midfield. And then the front three. I think Hodgie likes Morientes and he delivered for him back in his Arsenal days. And Ronaldinho and Hersey are two of the best in that position. So really solid.
Yeah, always surprises me. Sorocinski, I mean, I know he's not really spoken about so much, but he always did. I mean, he did a decent enough last season, and he's been brilliant this season for him, despite not having the very best stats. And he's so versatile, and Hodgie always finds a bit of a space for him. So we'll see what he does tonight. Predictions already coming in. Five says a 1-1 draw. Just says 2-1 a win. Lord Can says 4-0 away win. Potato Mourinho 1-0 away win as well. Craig says turnaround for Dudley starts here. This is a lineup Steve picked under the influence of 10 cans as opposed to 24. Great Stogger, not cans. Champ Mega Horse says 1-0. What do you reckon to this one, Scott? Dudley, any chance of 3 points?
No, I'm back in Leddersford. I think their back three of the two centre backs and goalkeeper are extremely solid. I'm not sure that Amoroso is the right man to supply Steve strikers with the chances. And I think that Hodges' front three will create and score. So I'm going to go with 2-0 Leddersford.
2-0 Leddersford. Ian Edwards says 3-0, 3-1 Leddersford. Wood goes for a 1-0 away win as well. How much you paying Lordy Steve, says Pete Greaves. Let's kick it off and see what happens in the first half. It's Leddersford with a good start. Oh, Patsasoglu had the goal disallowed. That's going to be disappointing for for Hodges, seeing his team go off to such a good start and not getting anything for it. But it's all Leddersford at the moment. It looks as just a matter of time before they actually turn some of these chances into goals. It's been very, very much. I was going to say yellow and blue, but that could be either direction. But dominant yellow. Um, Calmed down a little bit now, and Dudley's actually coming forward. There was Crespo with a good chance. Amoroso tries to put the ball into the box, but it's Ronaldinho for Leddersford opening the scoring. Obviously, Hachi expecting a lot from Ronaldinho. Um, he's been hunting him for a while and finally got him into the squad, and he's repaying his manager now. Um, I thought that Leddersford had a few more shots, to be completely honest. How did you see the first half, Scott?
Yeah, it felt like Leddersford had created about 10 chances in the first half an hour.
Mm.
They were dominant to begin with. Dudley did come back into it and sort of looked like it was evening out a little bit. But yeah, Leddersford, like I said, their front three um, um, have obviously been a lot more impactful than Dudley's.
Evan Nielsen with a free kick that Ronaldo out jumped Ayala, scored with a header. He was roaming forward unmarked, apparently. Let's have a look at Leddersford and their halftime performance. Hersey and Morientes are not really um, been as influential as I thought they would have. Sixes for the guys at the back as well. A little bit surprised about the stats or the ratings for the players here, but I thought they did pretty well, to be honest. Lattisford in the first half. A couple of yellows there. Anything else that
No, it like you said, the guys, the attacking midfielders, the centre backs are the guys that you would expect to stop and then create for Leicester. But it's actually the guys out wide who have been more influential, along with Ambrosini in the middle. But yeah, relatively solid display. I don't think Hodge would be too concerned about whether the the guys are playing sixes or eights. He'll just be bothered about from here keeping a clean sheet.
he's going Lee Chun So up top?
I'm a
uh,
massive fan of that.
well, you're a fan of Lee Chun So in general, aren't you? I mean, he did very well when he came in for you a couple of seasons ago. Him and I can't remember, was it Carla Shax or one of
Yeah,
these guys? Yeah, came in. So yeah, we'll see what he can do in the second half if he can cause Steve some problems. Let's have a look at there's a lot of sixes there. Tomasi, no surprise there, probably his best player or one of his best players. I mean, certainly in terms of average rating, has
yeah,
done well. Defenders have done okay as well, but struggling in terms of the creativity. Freddie's having a bit of a nightmare down that right hand
that is
side.
absolutely fucking terrible. Jesus Christ, come on, Steve, fucking hell, sort this out. Just on Thomasy, I think Thomasy is to Dudley what and Dye is to Hulls. He's that one player who's incredible, but doesn't make the rest of the team tick. He just sort of stops the opposition to the best he can by himself. But yeah, the rest of that's pretty shocking.
I mean, there's not covering yourself in glory, and then there's Freddie Lundberg's second half. Heskey for Tony, Gallardo for Amoroso. Freddie Lundberg gets to stay on. Right, where do we go? Emil Heskey's coming on, and we've got Gallardo coming on for Amoroso. I suppose you got to try
If
something.
if Emil Heskey's the answer, what the hell is the question?
I mean, I was gonna say he's done it before. I don't know if he has. No, he hasn't. But you never know. You never know. Did that actually happen? Yeah, that happened. Okay. Well, he's what Igor Biscan is to the Danglies, says Wooder. Let's kick off the second half and see if Dudley can find a way back into this through Gallardo and Emil Heskey, or if Lee Chun So is gonna grab the headlines for Leddersford. I mean, they are coming forward. They're having a good start to the second half here, Dudley Hill, creating a couple of chances. But it's all about converting, obviously, and that seems to be a bit of a problem for them at the moment. But same could be said for Leddersford. They aren't. Oh, I was going to say they aren't putting the final nail in the coffin, but there it came from Ronaldinho, man of the match performance from him, probably. Trying his best here to get the hat trick, but still a couple of minutes left to play. Dudley Hill have been a little bit better in the second half, I think, in terms of creating chances. Not better at taking them, sadly. Here is Rafael van der Vaart coming forward. There's a couple of minutes left to play. It doesn't look like any more is going to come out of it. Steers pulled off more strikers at halftime than Jordan. That's that's not the newest joke, but I guess it's still the point still stands. There's a lot of offsides in this game as well, 18 there for Leddersford, but deserved based on the action here. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, to be honest, the game panned out exactly how I thought it would. Dudley didn't create a great deal. Van der Vaart's still a little bit young. You've got Freddie Youngberg out wide. I'm not sure what he's doing, taking selfies with the fans. Amoroso, I think, is probably better operated as a striker. And then you've got two big guys up front, and the ball's just not getting up to them. And like I said, when you've got someone like Ronaldinho in behind, and that solid back line that Leddersford has got, it just screamed Leddersford clean sheet today.
Yeah, you were spot on with your 2-0 prediction. Lee Chun So with the assist there, apparently for Ronaldinho, who got the man of the match. And yeah, solid performance from Leddersford. I think you kind of covered it already. Mentioned there Soroczynski in the beginning, good solid performance from him. Hansjörg Butt solid in the goal. Ricardo Gardner picking up another 8. he's proven to be a bit of a find actually. I mean, that's him on what 7.6 average or something like that. He's not been hugely creative, but at least he's putting in a good shift in that left back position, and he was just kind of sort of hanging about in the reserves for a bit. It's done all right for him.
Yeah, he's coming and done fine. I think they've got such a solid spine, Leathersford. Their central defensive midfield options are so good. Centre backs have been fantastic all season. We've already spoke about the goalkeeper and then that sort of attacking trio or quartet, whatever Hodgie puts out. I don't think they need a massive contribution from their wide men. So for someone to just come in and tick along a 7.5, Hodgie will be happy. I think you could put Lee Young out there and he'd do exactly the same job.
Yeah, seventh clean sheet of the season for Hodges, says Chaps One, our local statistician, I believe it's called. So yeah, that's got to be, if not a Super League best, then at least up there with some of the best. Good performance from them. What can Dudley Hill take from this? They can take from it that they have a half decent goalkeeper. The defense is working okay. Alex is doing a decent job in midfield in front of Tomasi, but just struggling with the connection between the other players. It's not even as if they're that bad. They're just not. They're somehow just not connected, really, or they're not creating chances or not getting the ball to each other. I don't know if it's the passing
Well,
style or what the.
something's not working because Hernan Crespo and Luca Toni have not had a single shot between them.
Mm, neither, and Hess didn't help to put Heskey on.
Well, it won't do, will it?
Well, it's a bit like Robert Pires, wasn't it? You weren't expecting miracles from him. Lundberg at least got a few more passes and did okay in terms of his defensive duties, but you've got I mean, maybe not the most creative solution out there. Back to the drawing board again for Stee. I mean, at least there's some positive defensive displays in there. He's up against Ronaldinho in top form. That's always going to be difficult, but yeah, unfortunately, no additional points collected for Dudley Hill tonight. Next up, we have we're gonna do Haggis Hunters against the Devils. Is that what we've got coming up now? That's gonna be a cracker.
Exciting.
That's gonna be a cracker. I have seen both Mr. Edwards and Mr. Fife in the chat. Let's have a look. First up at the home side, the Haggis Hunters. Um,
Sorry, on Martin's behalf, can I apologise to Ian Edwards for associating him with Haggis Hunters? It's definitely Ian Campbell in charge.
True. Definitely is. Yeah, that was a mistake. Anyway, a couple of changes for him here. He's got the Patrick Vieira's obviously come back in, and he's got the Salas up top instead of Rossini. Finnan been on 1 day, 90%, 3 weeks. Okay. Steve's talking about Steve Finnan coming back into the side potentially. Um, they were a little bit unlucky, I think it's fair to say, against the Sloths last time out. They would have perhaps gone into this game with sort of a reasonable amount of confidence, thinking, well, we created a bunch of chances, we did okay, we should be able to do something a little bit better. But they're up against the Devil side, who also had a very, very good game last time out. Comedy 10 minutes coming up with the Haggis, says Rob. Um, what do you think? What do you make of Haggis Hunters and their chances in this one? Who's their main man? Who's their I mean, is that something is that a fair point? It's difficult to point out who's like the key player. What's the guy that's going to get them the results? Who do
I
you think
think
that is?
I think for me, the key player should be and probably is Vieira. He should be dominating games. He should be doing what Ndai is doing. I'm not a massive fan of Mendieta personally. I know he's got great stats
Oh, I don't
and
like him.
whatever. That back three does not fill me with any confidence whatsoever. Cordoba, Simic, and Bizarre. But then from the defensive midfield line forward, it's a really solid 8 players.
Hmm.
I think he's got to find a way of getting Shevchenko up front, even if he has to drop Salas. I know he's a fan of Salas, but it's very similar to Crespo in my opinion. Get them up
Yeah,
front on their own and just build your instructions and your attacking players to just feed one of the best forwards on the game.
yeah. I think that's actually. Let me just double check this because I just saw Simic. I think that should be Stam. I'm just double checking. Should be Casillas in goals. Oh yeah, it should actually be Casillas. Maybe I have not actually done this. Let me just double check. What have we got? We've got Iker Casillas, we've got Cordoba, we've got Stam, Candela, Vieira, Mendieta, Duff, Shevchenko, Larsen, Rosicky, and Salas. No, the rest seems to be okay. I don't know what had happened there. Sorry about that, Ian. Good job. Good job. I checked. Well, I normally do anyway before we start the games, but it should definitely be Stam and not Simic in there. That might explain something.
Yeah, it definitely feels better with Stam. Cordoba, I'm not too sure. Casillas is an ex Super League winner, can be a match winner, but again, is capable of throwing. Yeah,
6686.
yeah, but I mean, he's in a poor run, but earlier in the season, he must have been playing extremely well because he's got a 7.4 average.
Yeah. Well, so he must have put in a decent shift at some point. Yeah, Simic has definitely not played that well. Stam much better in there. Surprised to see Stephen Reed. Oh well, he's been playing like absolute garbage. I was going to say surprised to see Stephen Reed not included on the bench, but he hasn't done particularly well. Yeah, I mean, we'll see we'll see what Haggis can do. I mean, I think I would agree with you in terms of Mendieta. I would play with Vieira. Should be good enough to just play the DMC on his own and then free up some
Yeah,
manpower
hundred
for
percent,
for
hundred
further
percent.
up the pitch. But yeah, I mean it's a manager's decision. But looks okay for the Haggis Hunters. Decent enough side. And they're up again.
Tato's just drawing your attention to the fact that Donovan's not involved.
Yeah, that's always disappointing, but you know, you can't have it. You can't have it all. I mean, some people just don't want to win. That's, you know, their prerogative. It's not really not much I can do about that, unfortunately. Fifey, unchanged, I believe. Let's have a look. Um, you wouldn't want to change much after a performance like that, would you really?
Absolutely not. I think Fifey would have probably been the first manager to submit his team. Unchanged, thank you very much. And we go again.
Yeah, and waiting to see what Barry Ferguson can do. I mean, he is starting to get up there. I mean, last season he was okay. I just remember him in the previous iterations of season 5, 6. It was an absolute assist machine. Hasn't quite been there, but still putting in a decent enough shift and a 9 goal contribution in 18 games is still fairly okay, I think. Um,
Yeah, I
Rob,
think in terms of assists, Ferguson's probably the only person you would expect to be able to get anywhere near zero Roberto. Not this season, but I mean in
in
general.
general, yeah. Any reason why Robbie Keane is and Roy McCa I mean, I guess they're not bad players, but I suppose there's not. I mean, I know Kewell hadn't been doing particularly well, and he isn't blessed with a bunch of brilliant AMCs.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I'm a fan of Robbie Keane. He's a good player. Maybe not so much Roy Mackay. I think Robbie Keane. Sorry, in terms of Kewell, I would have done with Kewell what Hodgie's done with Hersey. So he might not have been contributing that much in recent weeks, but the team are winning and playing well. So just leave it as it is.
yeah, I mean, he could even play him on the play Robbie Keane on that side and play Kewell over there. Sometimes I think that he's either footed, so it shouldn't make any difference because it's still considered center. So I guess he could play there as well. But I mean, again, you're winning 5-1. You're not going to change anything, are
Yeah,
you really?
but a player of that caliber's got to be averaging better than a 7. So fair play to Fifey for dropping him. I think it's probably is the right thing to do. Maybe at some point he might come back in and try and reinvigorate him.
Yeah, and we'll see Montero in line for a suspension, obviously on a yellow. We'll see if he picks one up tonight. Predictions for this one in chat, if you please. Lord Echo Can says a 1-0 away win for the Devils, so we've got one there. Jim Bella's in charge of this one. No sign of Wayne Dade, Wayne Oldham, or anyone else tonight. We should maybe have a look at the referees before we start the action so that people can see what they're up against. Tatum Mourinho says 3-1 Haggis. Steve Wright 3-1 away win. Josh says a 2-1 home win. Duggan goes for a Desmond. What do you think, Scott? There's going to be goals in this one, hasn't there?
Yeah, I would expect goals. I think Montero and Nesta are solid, but I don't think the DMC options for Devils are the strongest. So the centre backs could become exposed with that attacking quartet from Haggis. But yeah, I think goals. I think it'll be 2-1 Haggis.
3-1 says Mr. Edwards. Mr. Mega Horse 3-1 away win. Rob thinks Devils are going to win 6-0, which is definitely a possibility. They are, and they're very fancy away colours. Um, let's kick this one off and see how the first half unfolds. Haggis Hunters up against the Devils. Big Thomas Gravesen in there making a nuisance of himself. 20 minutes on the clock. It's not been vintage from either side so far. Robbie Keane trying to do things for the Devils. Salas, how did he miss that? Well, it is. Oof, the penalty claim was turned down
Ooh.
there. That's probably the highlight of the first half. Oh, magic stuff from Patrick Vieira. Didn't expect that coming. I don't know what happened there. If he was on a bit of a dribble or something. We'll have a look at half time. Devils trying to fire back just before halftime, but wasn't to be. And Haggis Hunters go into the break 1-0 up. You did say that, or we did say that he's one of those players. This is fucking ridiculous.
Insane.
It's absolutely ridiculous. This should count for 2 players, really, shouldn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Either way, let's see how the goal came about. So fairly even in terms of the chances. Not really that exciting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, he just dribbled past 4 players. Well, that's fine then. And a penalty claim turned down. Ferguson was fouled in the penalty area going past Iker Casillas. The referee turned down claims of a penalty. Yeah, not having much luck with the penalty there, the Devils. But yeah, brilliant goal from Patrick Vieira there. Stam on a yellow. No yellows for the Devils yet, and a poor performance from the attackers. You think Fifey's going to keep his poker face and not make any big changes at halftime, or how is he going to respond to this?
No, I think he will make a change. I think he'll change up one of his attackers, maybe Mackay, whether he gives Kuehl a run or whether it'll be Montella, who he brought on at AMC last week. But for me, one of them will be on.
Yeah, well, we'll see what he says or what he comes up with. Good display in terms of tackling. Just the 5 shots on target. They haven't really been good enough. Thomas Gravesen putting in a decent shift ish. Well, they all kind of are, just apart from Barry Ferguson. A bit surprising there. Montella for Mackay, please. Is that the same as last time?
Yeah.
Montella for Mackay. Yeah. Well, I mean, last time it was they had a good result. So let's see. Uh, a big Paddy Vieira with a 9 there and a goal. Yap Stam on a yellow with an 8. Salas on an 8 despite. Well, he's been very good in the air, but I think he had. Or was it Keane last time that was swapped? Either way. Do you think Ian's going to do anything here? Or do you think he's just going to run with it? They have been relatively solid, and I don't know if what they have on the bench is necessarily better.
No, I think he'll just run with it. I think he'll be pleased that they've restricted Devils to not a great deal. Yap Stam has been massive, won every single tackle. The only player that we questioned pre-game was Cordoban. He's the only one who's not playing above a 6. So yeah, I just expect Ian to send the boys back out and sort of ask for a repeat performance.
Yeah, and that is what he's doing. Would you swap Helguera for Cordoba, or do you think it's 6 of one and a half dozen of the other?
No, I wouldn't. I would play probably Cordoba.
Well,
There's
he's
probably
going.
not a great deal in it, but I think they're both shit.
I was going to say, would you rather play like a completely different person? Right, the second half is kicked off already by accident, but we'll just run with it. It's Impensa. Oh, Impensa had the goal.
Ooh,
Oh, Fifey's going to be fuming. Penalty claim
yeah,
turned down, and a goal disallowed for offside. And now it's Haggis Hunters creating. And it's Salas of all
Salah.
people. 2-0 for the Haggis Hunters. This is oh my
Statement
goodness.
victory. Paddy V.
They are walking all over the Devils now. 12 minutes left. We don't even need to reduce the speed because this game is done and dusted. 5 minutes left to play, and I don't think Devils are going to come back into this one. I do think Montero picked up a yellow there, didn't he? Which obviously rules him out, I think, with a suspension for the next game. I mean, that's solid. That's solid from the Haggis Hunters. They had I suppose the big difference between this time out and the game they had against the Sloths last time out was the goalkeeper performance. They just managed to keep the clean sheet here, and yeah,
Yeah,
a strong result for
Stam played,
Haggis.
whereas he didn't play against Sloths.
Mm.
Stam was definitely a big player for Ian. I think on the balance of it, they definitely deserve to win. Fife would be frustrated that they've had a foul in the box and a penalty not given, and they've had a goal disallowed. But ultimately, if it's offside, it's offside. And I think the last 30 minutes, it was all haggis. I think there can't be any complaints in terms of where the points have gone from Fife, although we might feel a little bit aggrieved.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that kind of really knocked the stuffing out of them, having that goal disallowed, and then with Salas and Vieira obviously getting Mike Duff with an assist for that one. I think Vieira got a yellow. Let's see. Yeah, Montero picked up a yellow as expected. Um, Barry Ferguson, the man letting the side down. Seb Frey not with a
Jesus,
great performance either. I mean, that is poor in terms of tackling there, Barry Ferguson.
it is.
Big Tommy
It's
G.
you don't really see fives from Barry Ferguson.
No.
Guigu has done a really good job. Um, Montero with the inevitable yellow card. I think it's every week. Um, yeah, I think Fife will be a little bit frustrated, but if you look at the performance of his team, I don't think he can have any arguments about the results.
He wants to complain about the referee. We'll do that. I used to have a player like that. You should play him more, says Archie. A big 10 for Big Paddy. A
Big Yap Stam,
great
16
display.
out of 16 tackles as well. Massive player.
Oh, Yap
Well done.
Stam, yeah. Oh my goodness.
Unbelievable effort.
Well, that was
Put,
that's
put
what happened to
Mpenza in his
Impenza then.
pocket. Yeah, and I think Haggis, that's probably the performance of the season without a doubt. And Ian has got going to have a lot of gratitude towards his former assistant manager who ultimately designed and created this tactic for Ian to use.
Yeah, he definitely left his legacy at the club there, Tato, and Mendieta smashing it at DMRC. Smashing it is maybe a bit of a strong description for winning 4 out of 6 tackles and 2 out of 4 headers and completing, I don't know, a reasonable amount of your passes. But yeah, he gets a 9. Mendieta, not a bad performance. See if he has any interceptions maybe. If that's where it is. No, but he did run with the ball, so he had a bit of an impact there. Um, and I think Mike Duff got an assist, didn't he? Cantala got an assist. Good for the wingers to get involved there, and Rosicky as well. Yeah, brilliant effort from the Haggis Hunters, and good for the table as well. Obviously, the teams below the line taking points off the teams above it, then that's always gonna keep it interesting right until the very end. Um, Next up, we go to Lokomotiv Boston against Hull's Vikings. Hull's are up against it here. I mean, well, let's see if they are up against it. They've obviously got Bartes injured. Allowus in his back in. I I feel like Greaves. He said he was gonna like swing the sword or cut the players or make sweeping changes. I see Deisler, and that's about it.
I think, let's be honest, that midfield three feels a lot better than it does with Del Vecchio and Barsom in there.
Yeah, that was a joke.
Um, yeah, it was. Inzaghi's in for Kesman, who didn't do a great deal. Apart from that, it's pretty much as is and how they've been playing in recent weeks. They've been playing well, albeit they had a stinker last time out, but I think Greaves has probably put that to bed already and they'll be hoping to move on. And I think he'll be extremely confident against an out of sorts Hull side.
Yeah, well, he just pointed out that he has 5 changes. I'm well aware of that, but it doesn't suit my narrative, so I'll just make it up as I go along. But yeah, he's definitely got. I mean, Nick Matulin's obviously um, really rate Nick Matulin. Don't think they'll miss Bartes. Um, all right, Duggan, if you say so. I presume it was an attempt at humor, which actually was quite funny. Um, I mean, it's still a good side. It was perhaps a bit of a one-off, well, a two-off, I would say, because they obviously had that game earlier on the season where they conceded 4. But you wouldn't expect Boston to do that again, would you really? We'll see who they are up against. Obviously, Deisler's not played that much of a part this season. Well, he's not been that good when he's been in, but we'll see if he can do a job for them tonight. Ronaldo's had a good season, especially by his standards, contributing 10 in 12, which is not a
Yeah,
bad return at all.
no, it's nice to see. I think he's probably my favourite player of all time,
Mm.
and it's frustrating that on the game he's actually shit and doesn't really contribute. So, to get that sort of return from him at this level, it's good to see.
That's pretty good, yeah. They're up against Hools, as you mentioned there. Hools, um, if we're talking about form teams in the league, Hools are probably, well, instead of me guessing, let's have a look. In terms of the form, yeah, Hools are down there with three losses on the spin. Um, Jens not happy, and he's definitely made changes. He's gone narrow. Not sure if that's going to work out in his favor, but I suppose it's worth a try. I mean, Campbell, Turam, all these guys looks decent enough, doesn't it?
I mean, in terms of the 11 players in the positions, it looks good. Question marks for me would be Rivaldo and Gerardo. Don't rate either of them personally. I'm a big fan of the formation. It's a formation I use a lot. I've used it in the Super League sparingly over the last couple of years, but only generally when I'm coming up against a side that I know are going to play narrow.
Hmm.
So I've played this formation a couple of times against Alf in previous seasons and played it a couple of times against Valen as well. But yeah, I think against Boston away from home, got Zambrotta and Sorin wide playing well, and I can't see anything other than a home win, to be honest.
Yeah, the narrow shout is either going to be a masterstroke or nullify Greaves' three MCs, or he'll get absolutely bummed by his width, says Doug. And yeah, well, we've seen both things happen. Both where, I mean, I think it's rare that the narrow has dominated the wide. I think they either cancel each other out or the narrow loses. I think it's rare that we see the narrow really beating, apart from on some occasions where Astor have done it. But that's with the funny arrows to the
Yeah,
to the front.
in the times when I've used it against sides that I know are going to play narrow, I've done it to sort of cancel out the game and just accept a point.
Hmm.
You go back a couple of years and you go away at Valen. If you come away with a 0-0, you're happy.
Yeah, true.
Similarly against Astor in previous years when they've been in and around the mix for the playoffs, um, you'll take a point. So,
Yeah,
but to
well,
go
as
to go away from home at the champions, I don't see it working. Unfortunately for Jens.
yeah, well, I mean, as Greaves point out there, he's never beaten Hools. Three games so far, and Hools have won one, and there's been two draws here as well. So Fifey goes for 3-0 away win. Duggan 4-0 home. Ian Edwards 1-1. Mega Horse is 1-1. Josh says 4-1 home win. Tatum Mourinho 2-1 home win. You're going for a home win as well, Scott, I guess. Or are you going to stick with your draw prediction?
No, I'm going to go 3-0 home
Three
win.
nil. Oh, Dimple says 0-0. Right, we'll kick off the first half, and we'll see if Lokomotiv Boston can find their way back to winning ways after that 5-1 defeat at the hand of the Devils last time out. Um, Always a good start for Hools here, but didn't convert when they perhaps could have. Another, I mean, that's two or three good chances for Hooligans so far this in this first half with just 17 minutes on the clock. They've definitely had the more dangerous chances, but Boston are looking very, very strong. And if they don't concede, then penalty claim turned down there. Go into the half to go into the break 0-0. Dimple does come in with a 0-0 prediction there. I thought Hools had chances. Is that just me?
No, I mean, it felt like they were trying, but they just couldn't get through. I mean, Boston have got that three in central midfield, solid defensive midfielder in Petit, two strong centre backs. So, to get through that, I know that Boston have got a couple of wide players that are probably playing well, but they've still got a really solid core that's going to be difficult for Wolves to break down, and they haven't really got an option to go wide. So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to be tough for them to create.
I was looking for the turn down penalty appeal. I don't even think I can see it.
It was a little bit later on. Might be wrong.
Uh, Yeah, it's not it's not made it. Oh, there it is. Lausen slit through an Elka. The referee
Ooh.
turned down the penalty appeal. Yeah, Jens still hasn't had a penalty. It's got to be the only one. Another penalty not given. Yeah, that's quite a lot. That's quite a lot. How many pens would he get if Grealish was playing? Oh, controversial. Um, yeah, I think there's a huge queue of people who are very good at. Oh, it's not. It's what is it called again? At winning penalties. That's what it's called now, isn't it? These days, players who are good at winning penalties, like Mohamed Salah and people like that. Either way, back in back in the real world of Champ Manager, um, I mean, it kind of went as you said that when you play defensively, you just take the point. So I guess from that point, Jens could be quite happy, but I just think he's maybe hoping for a little bit more.
Yeah, I think Jens will be. He'll be. He'll be frustrated that he's created literally nothing, and they don't look like a threat. But he will be probably a little relieved to get in 0-0 at half time.
I mean, they're still in it, he says, as is. So we're going to leave it as is. We'll have a look at Greavesy. Lokomotiv Boston, as I mentioned there just before halftime, the problem when you play Lokomotiv Boston and you don't score is that they are quite likely to do that in the second half then. Um, we'll see what he does in terms of substitutions, but Deisless on a 6, he's not played well. Insagi's not done particularly well either. However, Lusenhof, Pancaro, and Del Vecchio,
Yeah, there's not a great deal to offer from the bench, to be honest. I'm not a fan of Devaki at centre midfield. I know he's done okay, but I would stick with Deisler.
and just kind of hope for the best. What about the Pancaro? What does Pancaro do? He plays out on the wing. Could you put Sambrota? I don't know if you would put Sambrota centrally. Well, he says keep as is as well, right? Well, there's hardly been any. Well, there has been 5 shots. There's not been that many chances, and there's not been any goals, and both managers are going to keep it as it is. That's fine. We'll kick off the second half. We'll see if Lokomotiv Boston can find the back of the net as predicted by my good self, or if Hools can find a soccer punch. Um, Aymar creating some chances there. Rivaldo trying to do something for the Hools. It does look,
Wolves had a shot.
yeah, it does look as if they've had at least a shot here in the second half, and another one there. Not having it all their own way, Lokomotiv Boston, but
Ooh.
there is Filippo Inzaghi, as mentioned there. If you don't score against Boston, it's
Ooh.
Rivaldo with a late
Rivaldo.
equalizer. I should have reduced the speed.
Oh, there's
Here
another
comes
goal in
Anelka.
this. There's another goal coming. I can feel it.
You think so? Serene comes forward. There's Inzaghi with the volley. Nope.
Oh,
Oof. Gosh. Right, I should have reduced the speed there. That got a little bit exciting. I mean, if you're Jens, you're taking that, aren't you?
100%. Even second half, they've created some chances. But as soon as Jens went 1-0 down, he'd have thought that was it. But they've dug in, they've got back in it. He'd definitely be taking a point, stop the rot, and yeah, move on.
Yeah, I mean, after 3 defeats in a row and to rescue a point away at Lokomotiv Boston, which I think is probably the most difficult game to get back into if you go a goal down. I mean, I'm not Mr. Swan, so I don't have the stats, but if you're a goal down anywhere, you would want to be maybe full Chester. I don't know, but Lokomotiv Boston's definitely not a place I want to go a goal down. Rivaldo, I think free in the penalty area. It was Anelka that actually found him. Anelka picks up an assist. Is that his? Yeah, that's it.
First ever career assist.
Perfect result for a top two. That yeah. Well, um, I mean better in the second half. Ndiaye with another good performance there. Turam and
Yeah.
Campbell not brilliant at the back.
And again, teams in the bottom half of the table stopping teams in the top half of the table, extending the gap, which is good for the guys chasing.
Yeah, absolutely. Good-ish performance from Van Bommel there. I suppose it's a difficult away game, so you can't be too unhappy with a 9, a couple of 8s, and a bunch of 7s there. So it's worked out okay with the narrow formation. Let's see what happened for Lokomotiv Boston there. I mean, Petit with another man of the match performance. He's been an absolute revelation since he started playing. Well, he played most of the season, but in a 2, I think maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's recently, sort of last, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 games that Boston have gone to the sort of one defensive midfielder. And against a narrow formation like Jens's, Petit was always going to be busy today. And, you know, Boston needed Petit to have a big game.
Yeah, I mean he'll be a little bit disappointed that Inzaghi hasn't gotten more out of it, I think. But overall, I mean it's a strong performance from Boston. It's back to kind of what we'd normally expect from them. And yeah, Ronaldo getting an 8, maybe a little bit disappointing that he didn't get a shot off, but he's up against one of the most selfish players in football history, so that was always going to be a bit of a struggle. But yeah, well done to Jens for rescuing a point away from home there and stopping the rot. Lawson coming in there getting an 8. Good tackling performance from him. Not a bunch of headers, but that's just how it goes, I guess. Right. Well, very entertaining. And we move on with what are we up to now? We're up to Northern Burns against the Gazelles. We've got 3 games left this evening. Northern Burn first up against the Gazelles. Then we've got Sloths against Dragons, finishing off with Bostock against Fulchester. So let's go to Mr. Edwards. Let's see if I can get the name right this time. Let's see if I can get the squad right as well. I do think so. Um, there's a few changes in midfield. Robin and Nakata's coming in there in the center. He's not really been struggling. I think the team sort of picks itself. Jagatos Contra, Samuel Cannavaro, the front three. In this three
Yeah.
here, he's
Yeah,
kind of
it's that
chopped and changed a
midfield
bit.
triangle. That midfield triangle is what um, Ian's looking for a little bit more consistency. I'm pleased to see that he's gone with some more creative players rather than sort of defensive midfielders in there.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think it's a good move.
Yeah, I mean if you want to see something from Robin, I mean he's such a promising player. He's just not really been delivering for them, but maybe that will happen tonight. He has got the acceleration, the passing, the flair, creativity is not too bad either. Good technique, so he can definitely play in there. Nakata as well, another decent passing, creative player. They've just not really delivered for him, but we'll see if that changes tonight. I think it's Gattuso, is he? Yeah, he's suspended for this one. That's why he is not involved
And I don't
today.
think he's been great either, to be honest.
No, no, he hasn't at all.
For a player of that caliber, Ian'd be disappointed.
Yeah, Jared's actually played better when he's been in there. I mean, he can play out on the wing back as well. I think so. So yeah, decent, but decent. I mean, as we always say when Northern Burn play this season, it's a strong enough squad, and the only thing for him is probably that Sigalko needs to pick up the pace a little bit. He hasn't done that much recently, and with the
Yeah, he
pens
started
on.
well. He was on fire.
Yeah, but I think he had 10 in his first like 11 or 12 games, and then we've not seen much from him since, have we? But yeah, overall, and Del Piero obviously with 8 goals. I still don't know how that's a thing, but it is apparently. Um, Northern Burn, they're up against the Special Gazelles, who I don't think made any changes. They've put Big John on the bench. Anyone remember his glory days at Aston Villa? Was it John Carew, Big John Carew? Was he at
Yeah,
Villa for a short period?
yeah.
I mean, he's done well in the reserves, but we'll see if that translates into goals
Well,
for the first team.
Castillo was top scorer in the reserves league, and he's come in and he's played well. So
Mm.
Craig will be hoping for something similar from John Carew.
Yeah, well, we'll see if he gets any game time. Obviously, Jeremy's and Keane there. He likes this formation. John
Mm-hmm.
Carew was a beast at Valencia. I mean,
He was.
in champ maybe. I'm not sure if he was brilliant in real life. I can't remember to be honest. That Valencia side, it's quite a long time ago. Did they not? Did they have Pablo Aimar or was that before that? I can't remember. Well, anyway. Oh no, it was Ariel Ortega. Remember Ariel Ortega? He was a decent player as well. Um,
Let's hope he has a big game tonight.
John Carew, now an actor. hit the headlines of Norwegian media this weekend. Seems he hasn't paid his taxes. Well, can be difficult paying your taxes. Maybe
Yeah,
he's
especially with so much money. I can imagine why you might forget.
maybe he's not John Carew. He's John Carew playing the role of John Carew, much like our very own Lorraine Kelly over here, who somehow found a way of not paying taxes by not being herself, which is I think is amazing. I wish that applied to me. But anyway, um, Casel's, I mean, not we've gone over the team on so many occasions. He doesn't make that many changes. The tactics are the same, and we'll see what that means in terms of the game against Northern Burn. Predictions in the chat from everyone. I kind of maybe this. I mean, I normally don't come up with a lot of predictions. I can see this going a little bit the way of full chest at Casel's last week. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I think he's going to be tight, to be honest. I think the back six of Gazelle is extremely solid. Like you just sort of mentioned, Crew doesn't make massive changes unless he goes for a run of 2 or 3, maybe even 4 bad games, and then he might change it up. But he's very consistent with his tactics and his lineup, and they're just sort of ticking over at the minute. I think they're in relatively good form. They're on the brink of the playoffs, or in the mix at least.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's what Craig does. Um, Interested to see how that central midfield pairing do for Burn. Um, yeah, I think it could be a game with quite relatively few chances. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's 6-all.
Right, Ryan's just gotten out of the jacuzzi, so that's good, and joined us here on the in the chat. Evening, Ryan. Welcome to the party. Duggan goes 3-2 for an away win. Potato Mourinho says a 1-1 draw is on the cards. Maybe that is the case. We'll have a look as we kick off the first half and see if Northern Burn can pick up 3 points here, or if it's going to go Gazelle's way, or if indeed it's going to be share of the spoils. Dimble says 2-0 home win. Let's have a look. Why get out? Watch from there. Yeah, you could have stayed in the jacuzzi. Rob says 2-0 Burn. Sigalko with a big chance there. Thierry Henry, his fifth of the season. I mean, that's one triangle he's got working well. Del Piero, Tigalco, and Thierry Henry. Whether the three behind are delivering to the same level is debatable, but there is Tigalco with the second of the evening, and there is Thierry Henry with the third. It's a poor night for the defensive midfielders. Oh, and it gets worse for Craig Patrick Kluivert.
Oh dear, that does not look pretty.
That's not what he wanted.
I think that creativeness in midfield's working wonders for Ian's Burn team.
Yeah, we'll see
This
what
is the sort of
happens.
thing we expect or have thought Burn have been capable of for about 18 months or like sort of the last season and a half.
Yeah, really strong.
I think it has
Really,
to be just Carew.
yeah, it's gotta have to be, isn't it? I'm gonna
I don't know
pop
if
it.
Craig's about. I don't think I've seen him.
Yeah, no. Sometimes he does a hodgy and pops up and, and says something, but I haven't seen him about. But we've got to give Big John the chance tonight, haven't we? I mean, he's here for a reason. Agahawa has been absolute garbage when he's come in, so I can't see that being a thing. Um, we'll give Big John a run out. Don't think anyone can object to that. Very clinical from Northern Burn. Just a couple of minutes up until halftime here. Rio Ferdinand pulls one back just before half time. Yeah, I thought it was going to be a tight game, but looks as if it's going in the complete opposite direction. 4 goals in the first half already. Not brilliant goalkeeping performances. Castillo is absolute bobbins, says Rob, which which might be true. Northern Burn dominating possession. Gazelles, I mean, Rio Ferdinand is playing well. Dede and Cafu half decent too, but it's not been good. I mean, Roy
Yeah, that's
Keane on a
mental.
five. We
Yeah,
spoke
and
about Ferguson before. When does Roy Keane get fives?
Jeremy's on a 6 on a yellow card as well. So that sort of creative midfield, attacking midfield from Burn working wonders in there. Just yeah,
Seedorf picking up an assist as well there for them. That's not a bad one. That 6-6 shout from Josh wasn't bad. Yeah, well, it could it could go in that direction. Let's see who's it's Ian Robin has picked up one of the assists. He's on a 9. Manager's going to be pleased with that. Cosmin Contra getting an assist from out on the wing as well. He's been sort of relatively solid all evening. Yeah, Roy Keane chasing round after Arjen Robin. Yep, that's looks like what's happening here. Poof, I mean, I was going to say it's going to be as is from Ian Edwards, and he says as is. You wouldn't change anything to this, would you, Scott?
No, absolutely not. Probably the best 45 minutes they've had this season. Just thinking back to Gazelle, earlier in the season, they were playing Raoul and Clive up front together, and they were sort of doing relatively well. And now they've got Castillo and Carew, so I don't see a road back for Gazelles.
Yeah, Ian Robin winning all six of his tackles as well is a bit of a surprise. Let's kick off the second half. Gazelles get an early goal here. Who knows what could happen, but it looks as if it's been all Northern Burn so far. It's Nakata with the fourth, and that's got to be curtains for Gazelles. Probably just a case of doing some damage limitation here, but it looks as if they are still trying. Raoul coming forward there, getting a goal for the Gazelles. Um, can they get another one and make it exciting towards the end? Or will Northern Burn have too much for them? It looks as if they are still creating chances. Chigalco's still involved. Nakata's been very, very much involved in this one here. Just 10 minutes left to play. We'll probably just slow it down a little bit for the last couple of minutes here. John Carew, will he get on the score sheet? No, good low save by Toldo. 2 minutes of added time coming up. I think Northern Burn's just going to take this one home. Yep, they are indeed. Um, I mean, that goal from Nakata there at the beginning of the second half sealed it for them, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it's not nice to concede on the stroke of half time. I think back to a game that we played against Leathersford, we were 2-0 up. We conceded like on the stroke of half time, and then in the first minute of the second half, and we just went to pieces. So yeah, to get a goal early in the second half and ultimately kill the game, I'll be really, really pleased with that.
Yeah, strong attacking formation from them here. If we look at the Gazelles' performance, it wasn't actually too bad. I mean, let's have a look. They had 10 shots on target and they conceded four. There was, I mean, Big John comes in, gets a seven. There's eights in there as well. I mean, Roy Keane did his best, 16 tackles. He only won seven of them, but at least he's putting himself about. Jens Jeremies on a six. That's a terrible display from him, 14 and four. Um, Dede getting an eight. I mean, it's they are a bit of an up and down side, Gazelles, aren't they? Really, in terms of their performances, um, and this has just been a down for them.
Yeah, yeah, it's an off day. Burn have turned up. They've played really well. We sort of mentioned that Craig doesn't make a huge amount of changes, and depending on who he plays next, I don't expect to see massive changes after one defeat. I think he might push Raoul further forward. I think he was scoring goals when he was playing up front earlier in the season, so that might be something for him to look at. But we sort of, as you mentioned, Aga Howard's not been great when he's played. So what does he do at AMC? I'm not too sure. I think when you've got Jeremies and Roy Keane and Cafu having an off day for his biggest players, then
Yeah.
you're up against it for sure.
Yeah, could maybe try swapping Castillo and Raul. I don't know if that would work, but I mean it's up to Craig obviously to look into. But they Ian Robin definitely justified his inclusion there. I mean, brilliant defensive display for him as well. He gets an assist, four key passes. Um, he deserved man of the match, I guess.
Yeah, it looks like he's absolutely run the show. Henri's got 2 goals, but he's not probably been involved in too much else. But Ian won't be bothered. Solid performance, 4 goals. Robin's come in and worked wonders. 3 points against a Gazelle side that are strong. Ian will be absolutely delighted, and he'll definitely take confidence from that for the remaining fixtures. Something.
Yeah. Northern Burn heading for the playoffs here potentially. Looking good for them, and especially if Ian Robin can continue to produce those kind of displays, then they're in for a solid run here. Sigalco somehow being trying to head the ball unsuccessfully mostly. Robin channeling his inner Neil Scally, yeah, definitely, definitely. Less said about Neil Scally, the better. Anyway, um. It's time for Sloths against Dragons. Where did Duggan and Wooder? Are you here, guys? We'll see who's at the
Something's
wheel.
got to give.
Something's
Something's
got to
got to
give.
give. Fluffs normally score 3, and Dragons never concede more than 2.
Well, It could be goalless. It could be goalless, but who knows? Because wasn't it yourself and Sloths? And we thought, oh my goodness, there's going to be 100 goals in this one, and then there wasn't. Um,
Yeah, it was 1-0. Yeah.
let's have a look first at Sloths and how they line up. I think a couple of changes at the back. Henshaw and Gamara comes in. He's got everyone at his disposal, all of the big names. Guerrero, who's got 11 contributions in 15, is playing. They've got Desai, who's I mean, he's not quite Paddy Vieira in terms of 20s, but he's not bad. Um,
No, he's had a really good season. Rob mentioned a little bit earlier on before the show that the way they're playing at the minute, his team picks itself. So he's obviously brought in his favoured centre back pairing. Apart from that, he doesn't have to do anything. Give the ball to Zeriberto, get it into those big guys up front, and hopefully score 4 or 5 goals again.
unless both teams lose this game, it's a terrible night, says Fifey. Well, we'll see. We'll see what Say Roberto can do. We'll see what even Pizarro picked. I mean, he's on 10 for the season. Pizarro, look at the state of that boy. I mean, 5 assists and 10 goals. Pizarro. That I've completely ignored that. That must have come in the last few games as well. That he's really starting to pick up. Have we had any contribution from Tomadera? Well, not really, but who needs that when you've got Pizarro and Vieri delivering those kind of numbers?
Yeah, I think when you play a three, there's always going to be one who doesn't
Mm,
contribute massively in terms of contributions of goals and assists. But like you said, when you've got 20 goals between two players and 50 assists from Zeriberto, they're doing plenty.
yeah, we mentioned him before. That is quite unreal. As mentioned in the beginning of the show, we'll speak a little bit more about the Dragons now that we've got them coming up. Um, Dragons haven't really been a mainstay at the top of the table at any point in in recent memory as Dragons or as football monologue. But for some reason, this season they've really turned things around and they've got results out of players that I perhaps I wasn't predicting that they would get a lot of of goals out of. The Greek waiter has done a Cypriot, I think he is, has done a half decent job. Back, poor average, but I mean, 11 contributions in 18 games is not a bad return. Joe Cole, um,
He
yeah,
started well. I think he's gone off the boil a bit last sort of maybe 8 games, but
hmm
he started well with goals and assists. Um, they obviously decided relatively early that Batistuta was not going to be the striker of choice this season. Khan's had a really good season when, it's season two, he can start dipping off. Um, they've been extremely consistent. Their defensive central sort of area has been good with Said and Davids and Zalius.
yeah.
Um, Baumer is someone who historically has not always delivered as much as he can, but he's done okay. Um,
Yeah, especially
so
recently, and again that contribution. I mean, I know it sounds like a bit like we're talking about ice hockey here, but the goal country, unless you're talking strikers, I actually like to look at the goal contribution. So it's like, if you get 6 assists and 2 goals from a left-sided wing back, I mean, fair enough. It's not Roberto territory, but it's a good return. I mean, he's definitely delivering. I think they've actually played him. Did they not play him up here at some point as well, or was that my imagination? Oh, it could have been
yeah,
my
I think
imagination.
I think only maybe I'm not too sure. But yeah, they've been the complete opposite to last season. They've been consistent. They've been
Mm,
solid, hard to break down, hard to beat. I'm almost certain they've not conceded more than 2 goals in any game this season.
yeah.
Davids is working well in central midfield. So yeah, really impressive what they've done this season. Stark contrast to last season.
Yeah, Duggan says never played him as an AMC. No, I think you're right. I think that was me actually who played him as an AMC in one of my Ajax. Tried to get, was it Ajax or wherever he plays somewhere? I tried to play him up there, but either way, yeah. And as Wood mentioned, there's superb morale for the Dragons side. No Dragons team in top 12 individual player ratings, team performance. Yeah, and as a declared a Dragons supporter, then I'm all for it. But I do hope that we get to see a lot of goals in the game tonight. It's going to be quite interested. Genius management playing a right-footed centre back at left centre back and a left-footed at right centre back, inverted centre backs. Yeah, it's almost like that Sheffield United manager and his free roaming, whatever they were, fullbacks or centre backs. Um, Sometimes it works. Let's see what the Dragons can do up against the Sloths. I mean, there's gotta be goals in this one. Dragons are not really free scoring, but you can't. This can't be 0-0. We can't have first against second.
No, I think Sloths will pile the pressure on. I think Dragons will be relatively solid, but I think Sloths will do enough. I'm going to say 2-1.
Josh says 3-1 home win. Ian Edwards 2-1. Rob says it's going to be a Desmond. Um, it's going to be quite exciting. I think it's going to be a quite exciting game. This one. Steve Wright goes for a 2-1 away win, supporting the Dragons there. Let's kick off and see what happens. Sloths take on Dragons. First half coming up. It's a good start from the Dragons. Three, four, five chances, and Arik
Ooh.
back scoring on the 7th minute. There's a yellow card for Carlos Gamara here. Let's see if Sloss can find their way back into this, but the form and morale of the Dragons side is really impressive, and they have taken the early lead. It's not been a problem for Sloss to score goal recently, but 25 minutes in, and they haven't hit the back of the net yet. So Roberto is trying his best, and there is Pizarro. Oh, the goal is
Ooh.
disallowed. It was Vieri who was offside. That's the worst thing that happens when it's actually someone else who's actually offside. Continue to come forward, but the Dragons are having plenty to say down the other end as well. And there is Tomadera, the one player we didn't point out, or we kind of singled out for poor performance at the beginning of this, is actually the one getting the goal for Sloss. But a very exciting first half, living up to the expectations in terms of excitement, I think.
Yeah, it was a good game. A good first half. I think the Dragons boys will be delighted that they've scored early and created um, a few chances, but that early goal will please them because I think against the Sloth side who are so attacking, create so many chances, and generally score a lot of goals, I think Dragons are going to have to take the chances to get anything out of this game. Um, so to score early was a
Yeah,
real
and it was
plus.
Joe Cole with the assist for Arik back. I mean, those two teaming up. Oliver Kahn had a bit of a of a situation there, couldn't hold on to the ball, and it was Tomadera who picked up the equalizer for Sloths. Um, Bauma and Saeed that we picked out before the game not doing that well.
No, but against this free flowing Sloth side, I think Dragons were always going to come under pressure. Um, I think 1-1 they'll be relatively happy with. Um, I still fancy Sloths to go on and win. I think they'll create a lot in the second half. An early
Mm.
goal could be absolutely crucial. I think Dragons probably need a goal early if they're going to have any chance of getting 3 points because you would always back Sloths to score.
Yeah. Sauri with a solid performance out there as well. Ronnie Johnson on an 8. Ronnie Jonsson, sorry, correct pronunciation. Very solid display from him there. If you're looking at so Duggan says as is, please we go as is. Rob is obviously around as well. If he wants to make any changes, we'll have a look. Guerrero a little bit surprising that he's only on a 6. I do rate him quite highly. And normally he's either playing spectacularly or injured. Not that often to see him on a 6. Salihamidzic on a 6 as well. Van der Sar. What do you make of Edwin van der Sar? Does it matter that I mean 740, he's got good average. Surprised to see him actually.
Yeah, I think look, if you've got a goalkeeper that's not throwing in fives and sixes, then you just continue with them. Um, I don't think there's many goalkeepers that don't have that stinker in them, but he's in great form. Um,
Mm,
is it 4 8s in a row? I think I saw there.
yeah, something like that.
Just a note on Guerrero, who's obviously been brilliant this season. I wouldn't write him off not contributing something in this second half.
Yeah, and Rob obviously going by by his sort of I won't say recent experiences, but for experiences overall, I think Sloss obviously always prone to a red card, so he's taking Milito off for Gamara. He's bringing Milito on for Gamara to avoid that. Eddie Lanny is the referee. We'll kick off the second half, and we'll see if either side can find the winner. No changes for the Dragons. early chances for the Dragon here, starting the second half the way they started the first, but without the goal this time, or they are really coming forward and absolutely taking the game to the Dragons, but they didn't get that goal. The question is, will that come back to haunt them now with half an hour to play? There's an injury for Taribo West. Not blessed with a bunch of options on the bench. Maybe Emerton and Saeed, or Carrick and Saeed back to centre back. What do you think, Scott? Do you think they're going to go with here? I'm having a look while I'm waiting for Duggan or Wooder to.
Yeah, I think they'll move Saeed back and maybe move Zalis across and put Emerton right defensive midfield. I'm sure Zalis is left-footed. Not that that bothers the Dragons lads. The inverted, whatever it is.
Yeah, dropping Saeed
Emerton on
in, Emerton on, and then leaving Emerton and Elias like this, I guess.
spot on.
Well, they haven't said anything, so I guess that.
Duggan says spot on, so they're happy.
Oh, right, okay. It just comes. Oh, it's because I don't see the. I see the chat in the streaming software, not in YouTube, so it comes up a couple of seconds later for me. Okay, well, 25 minutes to play. Let's see if either side. I mean, it's. Simeone with a header could save Khan. I mean, there's been plenty of chances for both sides here. 5 minutes left to play. Cole to back again. Emerton involved as well. And back with the header there for Dragons. It's Arik back with a
Really, really
double for the
impressive
Dragons.
from Dragons' this display.
Wow, that was impressive from the Dragons. Very, very, very solid at the back, preventing the free scoring Sloths. I mean, that is a very, very strong display from the Dragons there. Very impressive, I have to say. And obviously, Eric back getting that header. I see people talking about Emerton being this kind of assist king, and I just never see it. But there he is. There he is. Man of the match
Yeah,
for for Archie back.
yeah, really, like you said, just echo your comments. Incredibly impressive display. They've, Sloths have created chances, but they've been so solid. And you know what? Maybe we should have seen it coming. They don't concede a lot of goals. Khan's had another good game. Archie Back's done the business. Zalis has had a great game central midfield. Ronnie Johnson has been solid. Really, really good all-round team performance. I think Duggan said earlier on there isn't a Dragons player in the top 12 average rating players, and they just grind out team performance after team performance, and that's what they've done again.
Yeah, definitely good good performance from them there. I think Alf always mentions that the first couple of seasons, I think whatever the thing is that he uses to look at players, that scout thing or whatever it is, Ronnie is actually the one of the highest rated players in the game, not just on his stats, but in terms of his defensive numbers. I'm not entirely sure how that works. Tariba West on a 0, yeah, that doesn't look brilliant. Let's have a look at the Sloss performance. I mean, they played well. They just didn't score. I mean, there was not really.
Yeah, they did play well. Khan had a very good game. Look, they always create chances. Usually they score 2 or 3 or 4. Today they've come up against a very good defensive Dragons team. Yeah, and they've not converted.
Yeah, I guess there's nothing really to say. There's nothing really they could have done. They could or should have done particularly different. I mean, there's been plenty of chances for the guys to obviously get the ball in the back of the net, and defensively they've not been too bad either. Just Dragons quite strong there, and obviously Eric back when he does get the chance, then he does occasionally score the goals, and that was the case for the Dragons, who obviously they will be consolidating their top of the table position. Rob says the slide down the table begins. Well, we'll see how much of a slide it is at the end of the season. But a very a good game, and obviously great to see that we had a bit of excitement there at the end with the winner. Lucio and West out long term is a big blow, says Wooder. Yeah, well, it could be. Although you did okay in the second half still.
Just a reminder for Rob. As I said earlier on, I was looking at last season's league table. This stage last season, Sloths were third on 32 points. And actually, the comments, Joe Palmer's commented, if Sloths beat Devils, they are in the playoffs. And they didn't finish in the playoffs. Sorry,
Yeah.
Rod.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We have got one game left this evening, and it's yourself, it's Bostock Stanley at home to Fulchester, ninth versus sixth. It's time to close the gap. Let's have a look and see if we have done this right. So it's one at the back again for you, Andre in goal. We've got Vincente, Ortega, Shax, Brosek by himself up top in the absence of David Collins, I guess.
Yes, we played this against Devils a couple of weeks ago and won 1-0. And we limited them to not a great deal. I know there's 5 defensive players, but I wanted to be a little bit more attacking at home. Our home form has not been as good as it was last season. I think last season we only lost 1 home game all season, and this season I think we've only won maybe 3 or 4 at home. So a little bit more adventurous. Yeah, Trezeguet's not really done it, so Brozek gets the opportunity up front. Jax, as you know, as everybody knows, I'm a big fan of, and I'm hoping that he can kick on and develop as he did in the last iteration. Similar to John Welsh, again, he's one of them players. I think he did well at Churchtown a couple of seasons ago, and again, he's one of them players that if he plays, he'll develop. The
Yeah.
centre has come in and done well and chipped in with assists. So yeah, this is
Yeah.
what we go with. Neville at right wing back tonight instead of Ortega, just purely for the threat of Ryan Giggs more than anything else.
Well, he's definitely it's definitely a relatively young squad. I mean, there are a couple of the older guys in there, but as you mentioned there, there's Brosek, there's Kalashak, there's Welsh, Good Johnson is still quite young. Um, Surprised that he's not played better, to be honest. He has been very good in a previous iteration at Gazelles, I think. But anyway, and Lasisi, full confidence in him, holding the line at the back. I mean, he's fast enough, I guess. But
Yeah, he had a really good game last time. He played by himself. He's got
mhm.
plenty of cover in front of him. I think I might be wrong that Veron's still missing, which will limit some of their creativity, hopefully. Um, so yeah,
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Trezeguet is dung, apparently. Um, so that's Mr. Campbell's honest assessment of that one. Fulchester, any surprises here for you? Veron, Scholes, Owen.
no, I wasn't sure whether Veron was back or not,
Is that
but
right? I need
I
to double check
expected.
this, by the way.
I wasn't sure that Veron was back, but I expected. I expected this 2-7-1. I expected 2 attacking midfielders and 1 striker, hence the sort of 3 central defensive midfielders.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, historically I don't have a good record against Macca, whether it be Fulchester or Panathinaikos. I think I've only beaten once in 7. Um, so let's see how this one pans out.
Yeah, well, it's if we're having a reminder here, well, a few games against each other here, and yeah. Um, there's the it goes strange when you have those kind of elimination games and how they count and stuff like that. So yeah, don't read too much into that. Um, let's have a look and see how it goes as Bostock Stanley in the final game of the evening take on Fulchester. Predictions: Viva 271. Campbell is going crazy rooting for Fulchester. Predictions, anyone? If you're still about, then let's hear it. Ian Edwards says a 1-1 draw. You fancy yourself pulling 3 points out of the hat here, Scott?
Yeah, I'm hoping we can limit their creativity. Um, Michael Owen's not fantastic. I think the key to this game is keep Veron quiet.
Keeping Veron quiet is going to be key. Potato Mourinho says 1-1. Dimple goes for a 1-0 home win. Josh says 3-1 away. Jens goes for a 2-2. Mega Horse 3-1. Well, it's a mixed bag, so difficult one to predict here. I would agree with that. But let's kick off the first half and see what happens. Bostock taking on Fulchester without David Collins. Brilliant save by Andre there. So good early chance there for Fulchester. But there's Bostock Stanley coming forward now, creating more chances here. A shower, so could be difficult for the keeper to hold on to the ball. 40 minutes played already. It's not been a classic. Um, Beckham trying to create something, and there comes Verong as well, and it's Michael Owen. Oh, just before half time, Michael Owen pops up from nowhere. It's been a little bit poor from both sides in terms of the finishing there, with 4 shots each, and none of them unfortunately on target for Bostock Stanley. Um, uh, let's have a look at the Bostock Stanley stats first. Um, it kind of worked, and then it kind of didn't at the same time, I guess.
Yeah, no, it wasn't great, to be honest. Not at all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put on Trezeguet for Jax and swap with Brozic. I'm going to put on Eto for Neville and swap with Ortega.
Neville on a 6 as well. Definitely going for it here in the second half. Yeah, I would have, when I saw it, I would have actually thought that you would have done Brosek on that one, and Trezeguet up front. Scott, what you're missing is a Vieri type player, says Mr.
Oh,
Campbell.
what a goal scorer. Well, I've got one, but he's injured.
Let's have a look at Fulchester. Well, they haven't played much better, to be honest. Presumably, their manager's back in the hot tub with the co-chairman. Not entirely sure that's an image anyone wants to wants to imagine, but you're free to do so. Ryan Giggs. I mean, Gary, that was probably one of the few things that Gary Neville did well in the first half, was keeping Ryan Giggs at bay. We'll see if Ortega can do the same, or if he's going to focus a little bit more attacking. Uh,
Yeah, I think the time's come where we've got to push on now. We need wins. We've got, 8 games left. I reckon we need at least 5 wins. We've got 5 home games. With this being one of them, we need to start winning games. So, do you know what? Sitting back and not creating a great deal is not really an option. So we've got to go for it.
Got to go for it in the second half. Let's see. Still with the shower here. Ian Ed was much in favour of your substitutions. Let's have a look. Second half. It's Verong being very dangerous early on, but it's still sort of 50-50 in terms of the chances. Although there is Michael Owen, but we're up at the other end. Etu can't miss and equalises for Bostock Stanley. Um, both teams still creating chances. Fulchester definitely not out of this one, and it's Scholes who finds the back of the net, but it's Eto who fires straight back. No one's picking up his runs. I'm not entirely sure what the defenders are doing in this one. Spectating mostly will take the last 10 minutes. There's Beckham with a cross into the box. Wells nicks the balls away from Scholes. Ortega now coming forward. Nicky Butt involved with a good tackle. Here comes Veron. 3-4 minutes left to play. Giggs goes around Ortega out on the right hand side. Yepes is involved. Yellow card, free kick to Fulchester. 2 minutes left to play. Can anyone find a winner here? Ortega clears the ball to safety. Brilliant defensive display by Ariel Ortega here. Looks as if it could finish 2-2, and indeed it does. Whew, rescued a point there. Scott, what do you think?
Yeah,
Much
yeah,
better in the second half.
it was much better. We've created plenty. That's not a typical Bostock versus Fulchester game. It's normally tight and gritty. I thought 1-1 once we equalised, it would have probably played out, but nice to get some goals, create plenty of chances, and I think on the balance of play, probably a fair result.
Yeah, I mean, well, when you look at the when you look at the shots on goal and the shots on target, it does seem to be in a fairly even game, to be fair. Great substitutions, says Tato Mourinho. Decent result, says Maka, who's here somehow. Great last game of the night. Well done both, says Duggan. We'll have a look at the table shortly. Yeah, fairly. I mean, they had more of the possession, but in the end, most of it was played in the middle of the park. Just interested to see how the goals came about in the second half. Etu picked up a loose ball there. Scholes with a header from across from Beckham, brilliant. And then Etu with a good finish there after a cross from Lisa Rasu. We'll look at the Fulchester stats. Actually, a decent enough away performance. I don't think Chris Mack will be too disappointed with that. Plenty of key passes from his players. They created a lot, and 2 converted shots out of 4 on target is not the worst. And an assist for David Beckham, who's it's not. I was going to say who's finally turning up. He's not really, but he's not been been terrible. Lisa Rasu picks up a 10 Man of the Match award. Samuel Eto'o and Trezeguet doing a brilliant job as well. Your overall assessment on your team's performance, Scott?
Um, yeah, it's been okay. Obviously, the second half was good for us. Les Razu's had a good game, although United did let Beckham get across him for an assist. Obviously, the changes have worked well. Both players have come and got an 8. Eto'o a couple of goals, which I'm really pleased with because I've wanted to play Eto'o a little bit more this season, but his average is like 6.4 and he's been really shit, to be honest. So that's somewhat positive. A few more bookings. We've had a lot of suspensions this season as well, which don't help. Do you know what? Maybe if we'd have just dropped one of those defensive midfielders back to a second centre back, maybe Good Johnson, who's not had a great game, we might have been able to limit them a little bit less. But on the balance of it, a fair result. Frustrated not to close the gap on the top 6, but nonetheless a decent point.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, fair assessment. So just a quick roundup of the. This was a surprisingly good show. Thanks, Tato. I'm sure you're
Why
referring to
was
the
it a
result.
surprise? Is that because both his teams have won tonight?
Presumably so. Let's have a look at the results. 2-2 obviously in the last game. We started off with an Astor win. Lettersford won away as well. Haggis Hunters 3-0 winners over the Devils. Boston with that 1-1 draw with Hools. Northern Burn with a strong performance beating the Gazelles. And Sloths losing to the Dragons. This is what it does for the table. It means that Dragons are opening up a great subs or bad starting selection. Ooh, Dimble being controversial there. Dragons opening up a gap, the first gap we've really seen for a while at the top of the table, 4 points. And then there is, there's not a lot in it, down to, 24. 5 points up to Fulchester and the Devils. It's not impossible, but yeah, as you mentioned there, you probably need to pick up a fair few wins towards the end of the season, especially against the team that are above you. That's going to be key to win these kind of like 6 pointers. Northern Burn are up there, Lokomotiv Boston, but no one can really feel safe because it's exactly the same for the team at the top. Yeah, it takes just 1 or 2 defeats and then you're below the line again. Dudley Hill at the bottom, Churchtown just above them. 42 conceded for Churchtown. That is quite a lot. Sloth now on 35. Quick look at the fixtures for next week. It doesn't get any easier for Sloths. They go away to Fulchester. Gazelles take on Dudley Hill. Doesn't get any easier for Dudley Hill either. Interesting one. Hools Vikings still looking to turn around the season. Haggis Hunters, who've really picked up some form recently, could be a difficult one for them there. Lettersford against Astor. That's another. Could be a really close one. Lokomotiv Boston at home to Churchtown. Big challenge for Churchtown. What do you make of that game for you there, Scott? Away to
Yeah,
Northern
I
Burn with
already
a.
knew. I'd had a look at our next few fixtures a little bit earlier in the evening, so I knew what we had coming up. I knew we had 2 away games off the back of this, which is why I wanted to win. Burn are clicking. They've had a probably up there with the performance of the season tonight. Ian's found a formation and a team selection that's clicked for him. So I guess one thing that we can probably be sure of is that Burn, barring any injuries, will be unchanged. So we know what to prepare for, but stopping it is a different challenge.
Yeah, and finally we've got the Devils up against the Dragons. Another tasty encounter. As mentioned, the co-chairman
Rob
and
wants to have a look at the following week's fixtures.
sorry.
Rob's asked if we can look at the following week's
Yeah, we
fixtures.
definitely can. Can we have a look at the week after, please? Yeah, you can always check the website. I think all the fixtures are up there for your individual teams. But yeah, definitely we can. Then it's Dragons at home. Sloths are away to the Devils. It's a couple of tricky games for the Sloths here. And that's your other away game, as you mentioned there. You've got the Hools away after that one. Dudley Hill at what? Fulchester. Dudley Hill. Gazelles. That's not what you want to see, really. And the same for Churchtown, away to Northern Bern and away to Lokomotiv Boston. It's a couple of tough games for the two bottom sides. Devils, Fife is complaining as well. He's playing Sloths, Dragons, and then the Sloths. I mean, at least you're at home, Fife. Chin up.
Jesus, with Fifey's squad and 2 home games, he should be confident of beating anybody. Come on, Fifey. Sort it
Yeah.
out.
Should be interesting for him to or should be good enough for him to get some results. Anyway, for those left in the chat, we are just about finishing up here, 11 o'clock, surprisingly early. Either way, as mentioned, the co-chairman and the full Chester manager have gone off for a romantic holiday. I don't know what they did with the wives, but maybe they're in a separate hot tub or something. I don't know. Either way, no show on Wednesday. The packs will be out shortly, but the next show very likely to be next Sunday, probably with yours truly, unless Ryan is desperate when he comes back from his holiday. But yeah, more details on that will be out later. That's pretty much it for me. So thank you very much, Scott, for your contribution as usual.
No
Shame we
problem.
couldn't get a win for you, but still 2-2 draw and a decent performance. Hope you enjoyed it.
I did. Thanks for having me, as ever. Always enjoyable. Thanks for the kind comments in the chat, and good night to everybody.
Good night, Scott. Good night, managers, wherever you are. And yeah, packs will be out shortly. Speak to you all again soon. Good night.